Kate Sheppard was a champion for women's rights, having fought for the women's right to vote in New Zealand. Why is this relevant? Find out in a second. Welcome to the Comic Panel Nerdcast with Ryan, your host, and normally with Jermaine, but he is busy at the moment. However, I have two wonderful guests here today, the director and leading lady herself from the Kate Sheppard musical, That Bloody Woman, Kyle Chuen and Jane Leonard.
Kia ora!
Kia ora.
How have you guys been today? How's your day been today?
Oh, it's been a pretty busy day.
Yeah.
Pretty busy Friday.
I actually had to sleep in for once.
Oh.
But then I took a 2-hour dance class, rolling on the floor a lot, so now my body is tired.
Yeah, fair enough. I would have enjoyed a sleep in this morning, but it's what it is. So before we go into the big topic that is That Bloody Woman, I asked the guests on the show what their first taste of nerdom was. So this could be from comic books to anime, video games, or even musicals itself. So would either of you like to start about where your first taste of nerdom came from?
My first taste of nerdom?
Yeah.
Probably X-Men comics.
X-Men?
X-Men and other Marvel comics when I was a kid.
Really?
Before, the Marvel universe was a thing. We're talking way back.
What was the comics that you...
Well, I used to read Uncanny X-Men and, mostly that. Yeah.
That's
collect the cards and stuff as
That's
well.
awesome. Yeah. What did you have a favorite X-Men?
Oh, always Wolverine. Always has been.
Yeah,
Again, predating the movies and everything. Predating
is it because you look
series.
like him a bit? Is that what it is?
Oh yeah, we can go with that. Sure.
Yeah. What about you, Jane? What would you say?
I'd probably say my first nerdom would have been the Star Wars franchise.
No way.
Yeah. So watching New Hope and all the others at a young age.
Did you go to see them in theatre or?
Yeah, I did see some in theatre, but I didn't see New Hope in theatre, obviously. I wasn't born then.
Yeah.
But was born in 93, so
yeah.
Definitely around that second
That's
wave.
Awesome.
So the prequels.
The prequels.
Unlucky.
Yeah. Also... I'll probably say, and I read The Hobbit at a really young age. I was 7.5.
Yeah.
I had a very high reading age for my reading level for my age.
I mean, fair enough.
So I got into that, and then I got into Lord of the Rings really hard. So I really love fantasy worlds there, but then also I was a big Pokemon collector. Yeah. I had the whole clear file folder of all my cards and the handbook that I unfortunately gave away to somebody, and now I don't think I can get it back, which is really sad.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, you can always start collecting again, but that is an expensive hobby.
Yep.
Yeah. Much like pop figures or anything collectible, really. So you guys have just come off of last week performing That Bloody Woman. Well, Kyle directing it, but you leading it as well. So having just come off that, how do you guys reckon the experience went?
You go first, Jane.
Okay, I'll go first. It was pretty amazing. I mean, the show itself is so empowering. It's so strong. It has such a lovely fast pace that just keeps moving. It's like how I described it was you get on the train and then you can't get off the train because if you get off the train, you'll screw yourself up.
Yeah.
I was going to say another word, but I'm not sure.
We could swear.
Okay. So you'll fuck yourself up if you get off the train, and then how do you get back on the train? So it is like that. But yeah, it's just a really, really great show, and it was such a cool cast.
Yeah.
To be able to work with my students as well was an awesome experience, and see them grow in that environment. But yeah, playing the role was. It's a bit of a dream role.
Yeah.
And seeing the person who originated the role, Esther Stevens, and just being like, wow, having to play this role was pretty cool. So, the whole experience was amazing, and I kind of just wished that it went on for longer. I feel like by the end time that we finished, I was like, oh.
I mean, it's like New Zealand's I'd argue New Zealand's pivotal original musical, I would say.
There's not a lot of others out there, really. There are. Yeah. There are if you go looking, and if you're sort of a musical theatre nerd and stuff, and you like that sort of stuff. But it is
the first that went kind of...
The first that's got the acclaim.
Yeah, and when super mainstream, and obviously now that the rights with Hal Leonard, is it?
I don't know which one.
Yeah, but like to have that kind of framework, and now they have a junior version as well. So high schools can do it. So it's a whole
flippity flip, is it?
Yeah.
For the junior version, yeah. And how about you, Kyle? Because you were you're actually on the cast recording for That Bloody Woman as. Yep. Yeah, like from going from that to directing that, has there been like a little bit of weird
I wouldn't say it's been weird. I think it's sort of it's meant that I've had some well-educated guesses with making certain things work. Again, so I was involved from the first season of this, so I've done 4 seasons. 5 now that I've directed one, but so it's a show that's been with me for about. What is it? 5 years now? Is it 5 years? 6,
longer than that.
7 years or something like that. 7, and I was originally going to do the one of the first workshops as well, but I had another gig on, so I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So it's been something that's sat with me, and I've had sort of ideas for it that to put a different feel and stuff to it, how it was originally done. So it and I think. Hopefully with this version some of that sort of stuff came across.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was your original questioning?
I was just asking if it was like a little bit of juxtaposition between doing the cast recording for it and being responsible for the cast.
Yeah. Well, the cast recording itself was kind of just like a 2-day thing.
Yeah.
But no, not really. Again, because it's something that sat with me and something that I had ideas for, and then obviously when I started working with Courtney as the co-director and stuff, we brought some other things together and put it all together that way. So it was a simple transition really from being in it to then creating another version of it.
Yeah. Would you guys say that this is like one of your favorite musicals that you guys have done, whether it be directing or performing in it?
Oh, it's up there, yeah. Definitely way up there. It like I say, it's been with me for sort of 7 years, and I've done the many versions of it. I've performed performed the show nearly 100 times. It's something that's very much part of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ingrained in me. I don't think I've never performed or been involved with a musical as much as I have with Bloody Woman. So it's Yeah.
What about you? Is this like one of your favorite musicals you've been a part of?
I actually think it has been. Just because of the message it tells, and because it's a story that's so close to home. But the character is just a cool character to have fun with. You have that interaction and that relationship with the audience, which you obviously don't get with every musical.
Yeah.
With that breaking of the fourth wall, and she goes through a whole journey of her entire life. So there's so many arcs and ebbs and flows and paths that you can take with a character like Kate Sheppard. And also the thing is that in the show it is kind of fantastical in many ways, because it's not, obviously Kate Sheppard wasn't a part of a punk gang, but what the punk revolution says to us is it means it's revolution, and what she was doing was revolution. So it enabled, when you get to play this character, you get to make up your own version of Kate Sheppard, your own kind of like majestic, ethereal woman being, rock star, and that's so cool that you can just kind of take on this persona and control, kind of, I don't want to say control the room, but
control the room,
control the room.
Like she tells the story, she's got the people eating out of the palm of her hand,
and that's really cool. It's just nice, like strong female characters. I know it's so like niche to say, but strong female characters.
I will say this: a strong female character is really awesome when it is done right. It is amazing when it's done right. Or obviously there are cases where like a strong female character is strong for the sake of being strong, and it's like they find out they've got these abilities and it's like they just mastered them instantly, and it's like they're strong, but it's like there wasn't much work towards that. It's just them being strong because they're strong and not because they've worked hard at it, sort of thing. And like with Kate Sheppard, it's an example of not necessarily being the strongest, but also working towards that and striving and growing as an individual in person. And and I think the song that it's the only real song that I've heard. I wasn't able to see the show, and I'm sorry about.
Did you not come?
I wasn't able to because
even on the free night for Wintec students.
I'm ashamed of it, and I know, but I really wanted to go, and like by the time that that free show had rolled around, most of the nights had been booked out, and the only time I could have gone was on the Saturday with the matinee, and that Saturdays are the days that I work, so it wouldn't have. Yeah, it's fine. The Saturdays are usually the days where I work, so yeah.
Oh, buddy. Oh,
Yeah.
well.
Oh well.
Yeah.
I'll do
Your
like
loss.
just a Ryan concert version.
Yeah,
That'll be
Yeah.
good. That'll be good. The song that I've heard several times because not only you would have performed it, but also Malia and Adrian, Tempest. That's a song that really I feel shows a lot of progress for a character, sort of thing. Was it especially hard doing that one because
I don't know if it was hard. It was actually the one time in the show that I could just breathe
yeah,
and actually be quite
vulnerable?
and small and let down my guard, because the whole time she's fighting with keeping this guard up the whole time, whether that's a presentational performance thing or keeping her strength up when Dick Richard Seddon is around.
Yeah.
So to be able to just let it all go and cry and really experience what it was like to be a mother to lose a child before his time. That was it was a beautiful song to sing, but also it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Definitely heartbreaking.
Yeah, and you didn't you weren't the only one that was Kate Sheppard though, because during the matinees Helen was also
Helen Drysdale Dunn.
Yes.
she was Kate Sheppard for the matinees, so that would have been the Kate Sheppard that I would have seen. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that though. I feel like she would have done really awesome.
Yeah,
So-
she was incredible.
She did amazing.
I got to see her on the last matinee.
Yeah.
And I cried my little eyes out, and I just held her when we were backstage afterwards, and I just wouldn't let go. I was just so proud.
Yeah, it would have been really awesome, and I'm really sorry that I couldn't go, but things happen.
Yeah,
so,
Yeah, you know.
yeah.
Chips
Is
have
it
to be cooked. And
Yeah. Has it been is you guys work colleagues sort of thing? So to see you guys go from for Kyle to direct and for you to be the student in a manner of sense with this, how's that been? Was it just
Well, I wouldn't say a student.
Yeah.
Well, also with students as well, you learn from them.
Yeah.
Like as a tutor, we're learning from you.
Yeah.
You to figure out what we need to do to get everyone where they need to be.
Yeah.
And it's the same when you're working with actors.
Yeah.
And that's what Jane is. Jane is a professional actor. So, working with her, not just being I don't just direct you. We work with each other. It's a collaboration, so it's actually a lot how we work together in Wintec anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So it is a collaboration to come up with the ideas and see what sits well for the bigger picture and what sits well with the character and the character that Jane was creating. So it wasn't weird at all.
No.
It just wasn't weird. And plus, I love Jane, and I've known Jane for many years.
Yeah.
And it's just working together as a collaborative.
Yeah. So would you guys do the show again if you were able to?
Excuse me. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would. Obviously, we can't do it in Hamilton anytime soon, but if other things came up around the country and there was the opportunity to direct it again or something like that, and I'm sure if the role of Kate came up, we'd be keen to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would definitely do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change topic a bit here because it's like it is that bloody woman was like had just recently come and was primarily wanted to talk about, but a part of the nerdum culture is musicals, and I'd say that I've only just sort of gotten into musicals more and more as of late because of this course. I think my favorites that I've performed in would be Little Shop of Horrors and Hood Street. Hood Street is it holds a special place because it's not only was it like written and directed by you, but it was a chance for me to go into my rock voice. It was really awesome to do that. But I wanted to hear from you guys. There are because there are people that have their favorites and their least favorite sort of thing. But what about the most overrated musicals in your guys' opinion?
Well,
man!
I'll be brutally honest with the ones for everyone loves Lloyd Webber. And there's some Lloyd Webbers that I like Jesus Christ Superstar's amazing. I think that's
I hate Starlight Express.
Starlight Express is I have it's got a funny place with me.
What's the one with love changes everything?
Aspects of Love.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, that's not great either.
Not
Cats is I'm not a huge fan. Even Phantom, sorry to say, people love it.
Yeah.
And I want to play the Phantom and stuff like that. But as an actual show, it's kind of it's not great for me.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah.
But there's cool parts in it. But it's not I don't think it's a great overall show. But the spectacle of it is massive, and that's what a lot of people love.
Yeah, I don't know. This is for me. This is a show that I haven't seen, but because I have had it it's been oversaturated for me, so I don't have the desire to see it. Is this might be controversial, whatever, but I can acknowledge there are parts of Hamilton that are good, but I don't have a desire to watch it. As even if once, it's just I don't really have a drive to go and watch it.
Well, so my wife went to Melbourne and saw it, and we were always it's Hamilton.
Yeah.
It's not my musically it's not music wise it's not my absolute favorite. There's some cool stuff, but I find it a bit kitschy, a bit put on at moments. But my wife saw it and said it was one of the most amazing things you've ever seen, and I think it is one of those ones. It's if you go there and you see in its entirety the whole package, and it is a spectacular thing, and there are some moving moments in it.
Yeah.
She long though.
Yeah, she long.
Yeah. She long. No, I've just been the only songs that I really know is from the dance classes that we've had, because I've been actually on the bus ride here this morning. I was listening. I had been thinking about the dance routine we did for last year ballet. It was I was a bastard. Yeah. And I still remember most of the moves from that as well, which is oh my God,
that's cool.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I know I'm supposed to, but yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what music. Oh, I tell you what, because I grew up knowing Wicked.
Yeah.
When it first came out, obviously.
You were not Glinda.
Alfie. I was Alpha.
Yeah.
2 times.
Yeah.
Second time, just out of
the blue.
My dear friend's vocal injury, but that just happens. But because I grew up with it, and then it was really overplayed at high school, and everybody sang it, and then when I got to NZST, which was 2011, we were all into the whole kitschy, Nietzsche musicals, and it was Jason Robert Brown, and it was all that. And so I was Wicked, big blockbuster, do mainstream for me. And when people be I'll be what's your favourite musical? And they're oh my God, I love Wicked. I'll be clearly you're not a musical theatre fan. Be all snobby about it.
Yeah.
And so, but then even when I auditioned for the show, I knew how big it was, but I didn't really, it wasn't one of my favourite musicals.
Yeah.
And then I obviously did it, and I read the script, and I played the character, and then I was holy moly, this is actually, it's more than it seems.
Yeah.
Because it tells the story of being the outsider. It can also be a huge representation of racial inequities.
Yeah.
It's a really awesome story. So sometimes you actually need to like read the full script or see the show to actually make a good judgment on the piece instead of just listening. Because obviously, even like, I mean, I mean, probably over the last like 5 years, we've had good like bootlegs of things on YouTube. But prior to that, it was just the soundtrack, right?
Yeah, that's all you had.
And obviously they don't have the full libretto, the full script on the soundtrack. So, yeah.
I'm gonna go back to Little Shop, but not as an overrated one, but as one that I just loved. Like I fell in love with it whilst working on it. It was like the music was like sort of the stuff that I would listen to anyway. It had that sort of rock element. It had like that sort of like jazzy sort of. It was like a mix of both, and it like had it's like
it's got that old timey rock and roll sort of thing to it, right?
Yeah, it's just like it was amazing, like listening to the soundtrack and like listening to the songs from that, and then hearing like my classmates and stuff perform it as well, and it was like, wow, like we've certainly come a long way since we first started, sort of thing, and like and puppeteering for the plant was. It was a bit weird of an experience sort of thing, but like it was still an awesome experience. I remember the first week that I actually got to try on like the third puppet because the first puppet is the little one, and then the second one is the one that Seymour wears. The third puppet was. I put it on and I was like working it around sort of fine, and David Sidwell, the director, was like asking if I could see people whilst I was in it, and I was just like, no, I couldn't. And then like the plaque bit got taken off, and then Helen quite loudly said, "You're bleeding," and I was like, "What?" And I was like, looked down at my pinky, it was bleeding. I was like, "Huh." So it was. It was. I think it was like something that was in around the lips of Audrey too that I had like pricked myself on, and I was like, I think I got so into it that
adrenaline meant you didn't feel it.
And that's very ironic that Audrey too pricked you.
Yeah.
And you bled.
And you bled. And her. Inside of her.
Yeah.
There's nothing sexual about that. Yeah. It just is what the puppet is.
Yeah. No, and it was it was just like
that's what she wanted.
But it was like it was a bit ironic that the one time that Audrey 2 actually made someone else bleed and she didn't drink it.
Or did she?
Ooh. Yeah, no, performing in that show was it was amazing, and like it put a lot into perspective for me because I never like puppeteered or something like that before, and I would if I was like given like if I was due to circumstances, if I was given more than 2 weeks to puppeteer it, I would have enjoyed it more. I would 100% do the puppeteering again because it was fun, and I got to add my own sort of flair to the characters sort of thing. I had, when Jono was feeding it initially for Grow For Me, I had like the little plant there. It's just like dancing from side to side whilst he's singing before eating it. Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun. It was a really fun show. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good then.
Good
then. You've done Little Shop, haven't you, Jane?
Yeah.
I have. I did Little Shop at the end of last year and the start of this year.
Yeah.
2 months.
Down at the Court Theatre in
Down at the
Christchurch.
Court Theatre.
I have also done Little Shop if anyone wants to know about that. I too was the puppeteer for Auckland Theatre Company and ensemble member. That was my first gig with Auckland Theatre Company.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, I thought I was in with the grant, and I was actually after that.
You were in. You were one of the main players.
What was you were one of the urchins, right?
I was Crystal.
Oh, yeah?
I was Crystal, and my take on her was kind of, because basically our whole cast, which was amazing, was POC.
Yeah.
So that was incredible. And many of my my friends say you should say that you are a person of colour because I am biracially Māori, but I don't appear a person of colour.
Yeah,
so I don't often like to say that.
Yeah.
But so it was important to me with the character because they have been originated by black women in the States that I put my own kind of thing on it. I have like Portuguese ancestry on my dad's side, so I went with that.
Do you?
And so I went with that. So I went a bit of a more Latino character, which worked.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. I actually loved that role because it was one of the only shows that I've really been able to just sing like myself.
Yeah.
Because normally I'm kind of like soulful R&B as myself. So instead of like putting on that kind of like musical twang voice, instead I got to be all like Christina Aguilera, you know?
Yeah. And also the plant, the person who played the plant, it wasn't puppeteered, was it?
No, so that was the beautiful Brady Petty, my sister, and she played the plant, and it was like a physical being. It was kind of more like an alien being, and then in the second part of the show, her dress and vines just kind of covered the stage. And she's sitting up on what was because in our version it was like a flower truck instead of like a shop. Mm-hmm. And then she just beautifully takes over the world with her feminine prowess energy.
I was going to ask you about what ending you used because there was 2 endings to Little Shop. The ones that we did was the one where Audrey 2 ends up taking over the world, but there's also
the movie ending.
The movie ending,
I think most stage shows do the
taking over the world.
She takes over the world.
It's more entertaining that way. And
instead of like happy ending, it's just like nah.
Yeah, no. And the happy ending features like a different like some different songs as well, doesn't it? A Big Green Mother from Outer Space.
So we actually did that in our curtain, in our like bows.
Oh, nice.
So we did the bows with Mean Green Mother.
I think we did too. Actually. Yeah, that's where they use it. They use it as the bows. Yeah,
and it was awesome. But we had to get an arrangement of it done.
Yeah,
they had to ask the right holders in the States to get it done for us. But I loved Mean Green Mother, and hearing Brady sing it was just so cool. She's like fire.
Yeah. It was awesome. That's awesome. I'm not entirely sure what to talk about now. I'll work on it.
Talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, okay.
Anything.
I wanted to go further depth into like your introductions to nerdom sort of thing because there's more to just X-Men than like.
There was like if I think back when I was a kid and stuff, like a child of the 80s, there was it probably started with like action figures a lot. There was obviously Transformers in their original state when they were much better. G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Ninja Turtles when we were nearly to the 90s.
That was actually my first introduction to nerdom was Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. But you see, that wasn't really nerdom back then. That was just like, that was cartoons that you watched and then therefore bought action figures.
Yeah, that's what most cartoons were like made for, was to sell toys and merchandise. I grew up with the 2003 Ninja Turtles, but also I watched. We have like 11 sort of DVD cases that featured the original series.
Nice.
Yeah, which is a really good series. It is like, it's one of my favorite series to like go back on and watch because it's just ridiculous.
And that was like the key to a lot of the stuff back then. They were ridiculous, and like you say, they were made to sell toys. Yeah, because that's where the money was.
Yeah, and funnily enough, the TMNT are actually they're kind of a parody to Daredevil because like they. Because the ooze that makes Daredevil blind also creates the TMNT, and then Daredevil fights the hand, TMNT fights the foot. So,
you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a bit weird, but no, TMNT huge. didn't like the 2012 Nickelodeon cartoon.
I'm not sure.
Oh, I remember that. I remember.
fair.
I just remembered what they look like.
Yeah.
And I agree. I didn't like it either.
It got worse when you looked into the story of it, sort of thing, because quite a thing that shows did is that they had love interests and that sort of thing, and when you ship or when you make the love interest April O'Neil as a age her down to a teenager, and then you have Donatello have the hots for her, it's a bit weird. it's and it only got worse when Leo had a thing for Karai, who in that Karai?
Who?
Okay, so Karai is the second in command of the Shredder sort of thing, who has been the daughter of in some cards in some. Let me get my.
I've already lost interest, and that's the problem with reboots. They kind of try.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with the law.
Yeah,
don't fuck with the law.
Yeah.
It's like Michael Bay ruined Transformers.
Yes.
Don't fuck with the law.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean a lot of things do that. No, in some things, Karai is the ancestor of the Ninja Turtles, who had the 4 students who were and this was and this is in the comics, by the way, because the comics are very dark. This was, and they the children get executed, sort of thing, by samurais.
This is the original comics.
This isn't even original comics. This is more modernish sort of thing. Original comics, they actually had wore red headbands, and they killed people. They killed the people that the Shredder was sent to.
That's not so kid friendly.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's not going to sell as many toys.
No, it doesn't. So and then there's other series where Karai, in this particular version, Karai was the daughter of Splinter before he was turned into a rat, and then she finds out that the Shredder is not his father.
This is all too confusing, right?
It's too confusing. It's too much. It's too wrong. It's too far from the original story.
It's a bit of a miss, in my opinion. I just wanted it to go back to what happened to the funny times in the 1990s.
Yeah. It's just all about pizza and skateboarding.
And a crocodile
days.
named Leatherhead, who was an Australian.
Yep, that was there too.
Yeah.
On topics of nerdism.
Yeah.
I am also a big Disney nerd. I've seen every Disney movie. The other night, I don't know why. I honestly don't know why, but oh my no! Now I forgot. Oh no, I've remembered it now.
Yeah.
I put on Descendants, and I was too old when that came out. I was too old. You don't even. It's the kids of the Disney.
It's
villains.
a Disney Channel original movie.
It's a Disney Channel original movie, and it's got what's her name in it, who sings "I can be a better boyfriend than him."
I don't know who it is, but she's
one of the main characters, and for some reason I put it on, and I was like, I get this. But anyway, I'm a big Disney nerd.
Yeah.
When I went to Disneyland for the first time, I cried my little eyes out. I saw the castle and I was like, oh, I'm here. I finally made it.
The only reason why I would want to go to Disneyland is just to build my own lightsaber, and that's it.
Yeah, well, see, they didn't have that there when I went. Things were getting finished still, but I can't wait to go back. But yeah, I just like fantasy, I think, when I think about it. All my... Yeah, and the comics and everything. I don't really grow up with comics though, but definitely when all the movies were coming out, and I remember the original Batmans, and I remember seeing Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, and what's her name? Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. That was my first celebrity crush.
Oh, really?
I think it was mine too. Either Uma Thurman or her.
Ryan Reynolds. That was my one.
In what movie?
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
When he was the shit Deadpool.
Oh, this was, and But he was a good Deadpool before they
turned him into Deadpool.
Before they turned him into Deadpool.
Because he was just Ryan Reynolds. Very funny. So
I mean, which was like
what a guy.
Yeah.
What a guy.
But going back to the topic of Disney, what is your guys' favorite Disney villains?
Villains.
Maleficent.
Maleficent? Yeah.
Yeah, because she's just so misunderstood, and I love anything that involves witchcraft.
Yeah.
I'm a witch myself.
Yeah.
And I love her a lot.
What was this? Was this amplified by the live action with Angelina Jolie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I always kind of felt like I remember I had the storybook.
Yeah.
I think they were like by Golden Books or Puffin, where you got this box set of like little books.
Yeah.
And it was a Disney collection, and I just thought that she was so beautiful. And then when she became Miss Dragon, I never thought she was scary. You know,
it was like, you go, girl.
Yeah, and then when I saw the remake, and then when they cut off her wings, and I was like, oh my god, it's so sad.
So what was she the villain from originally? Was it
Sleeping Beauty?
Sleeping Beauty. Maleficent. There was certainly one of the more powerful of Disney villains. That I'd say. I think I'm going between two, and it's mostly because of like their performances. Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie Boogie.
I love Nightmare Before Christmas.
Was that a Disney?
Yeah, it is a Disney.
Oh.
Yeah, and people still argue whether it's a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie.
Christmas movie. I always watch it at Christmas.
I mean, because it
No
does.
argument. It's a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie.
I mean, Die Hard's a Christmas movie as well. So
Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's a Oogie Boogie is. I loved like his like inclusion. It wasn't much of an inclusion because it was mostly telling a story about Jack trying to take over Christmas. But for the moments that Oogie Boogie was there, he killed it. It was amazing.
And he tried to kill it too.
He tried. Yeah. I loved Oogie Boogie, but I also loved Dr. Facilia from The Princess and the Frog. Keith David's, he's so good.
That role is spectacular.
Yeah.
Princess and the Frog is it's like one of my tops.
Yeah.
It's very good. Have you seen it?
Yes.
You have seen it.
Yes, I have seen it. It's not one that's like ingrained in my memory like Aladdin and Little Mermaid and stuff like that though.
I just love like New Orleans culture and stuff as well. It's so cool.
Have you seen this series Treme?
No.
It's all about after cyclone and stuff in New Orleans and like the police trying to solve some things, but it's got like heaps about the food culture and the music culture and stuff.
Treme.
And they're all like
they
all playing on that sort of the
What's your favourite villain?
Oh, my favourite villain is probably Ursula from Little Mermaid. Yeah, I'd go with that. Just on purely sort of fun character and performance based like that. I think Ursula's cool.
Oh, another fun character like that sort of thing. Hades from Hercules.
Oh, you gotta love him.
Yeah,
you gotta love him. And his two sidekicks.
Yeah, Pain and Panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they say when they're like the little boys and they're trying to trick him?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Anyway, I love them.
Jeepers, mister.
Jeepers, mister.
You're very strong.
Yeah.
Hades was really well done, that one. Like that role, it was like it was written for I can't remember his name and I'm annoyed that I can't. But he did really fucking well.
The movie itself is great. Just thinking about TV series in terms of nerdism.
Yeah.
Sandman on Netflix.
I've struggled. I love with how slow it is at the start.
It is slow at the start, and I think that's because it's getting you into the world. It's getting you to understand the lore of it.
Yeah.
But then once you get going, you just don't want it to stop.
Yeah. I sort of like relate with that, but I need to watch Sandman at some stage. I'll get to that, but I relate to that with Arcane because Arcane is really, really good. This is me. I watched it mostly because I play League of Legends, sort of thing, when I'm able to, and they announced a bunch of games and the series, and I watched like the series when all 9 episodes were out, and I loved it. And at the end, I did cry because it was just like, oh my god, someone help
Arcane
me.
was really good.
Yeah.
And then I started watching
House of Dragons.
House of Dragons.
Yeah.
Which is just the first episode was so intense.
Oh,
I'm not going to say it.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert.
Is this the Game of Thrones?
Game of
Yes,
Thrones,
the Game of Thrones
like prequel
thing.
Yeah.
Have you started watching the Lord of the Rings series?
No, because I can't watch 2 fantasy series at the same time.
See,
because I've got to like be in the lore of one.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm quite bad with that because I read fantasy fiction.
Oh yeah.
So at the moment, I'm still finishing. Here's how nerdy I am. So the Raymond D. Feist Rift Wars, and so that's like a 20-something book series, and I've got 3 more to go.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
But I'm reading that at the same time as I'm reading Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive. And so Brandon Sanderson is the guy, real nerdy, eh?
What is it like in your mind, I wonder?
Brandon Sanderson is the guy who finished off the Wheel of Time books when Robert Jordan passed away. Did you watch Wheel of Time?
Yeah, I loved Wheel of Time.
Yeah, so I've read most of Wheel of Time as well. I'm not quite finished there, but again, I've got like 3 different major fantasy series on the go.
Yeah, one of them. I mean, this is more like a kiddish sort of fantasy series that I got into. But this was like in the prime time of Scholastic, the magazine, like the magazine.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that.
Yeah,
it's always been a prime time. For that.
I mean, when like you'd like see books that you would like, and then you would order them. Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people would go for the Beast Quest books, and the Beast Quest.
What are they?
What are they?
Oh, so it was
What are they, Ryan? Why don't you tell us about them?
Okay, so Beast Quest books were these books where you would have this one. I can't. It was a character whose name was based around Arthur, or like something like that, and he would go and he would fight like a beast and try to like either uncorrupt them because they were corrupted by this evil sorcerer, or defeat them because they were made by the sorcerer. And it was just like a bunch of books like that, and it would come with like cards that you could cut out, sort of thing. And it was like it had like a top trump sort of element.
That's cool.
Yeah, and like there was like 6 per. There was like 6 per season, and there was like this one big one that would be like after what happened with these ones, and then it would go on to this one, because the first one had one called Spyros the Ghost Phoenix, and it was a phoenix that was split into 2, and like one had the physical form, one had the personality sort of thing, like the soul of it. And so it was this ghost phoenix, and then by the end of the book, the phoenixes fuse, sort of thing.
Very exciting. I was just thinking, like, we're talking about all these things. I've never thought they were nerdy. It's just a part of me.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just
interest. But I feel like it does. They like even like Harry Potter and stuff, which I know that you love. It like falls in that category.
Love the series, don't like the author as much, but
well, that's oh my gosh.
But like, it was weird because like as I was talking about the top trump element of Beast Quest, I was thinking about the first time that I got top trump cards was for a series called Ben 10.
And Ben 10.
Ben 10 it's amazing. It's a really good series, not the remake, but it's
a remake.
I didn't know there was a remake.
It was like there was a remake a while ago of the original cartoon that was talking about stories about when Ben was a kid, sort of thing. It's like it's a bit Teen Titans Go, sort of thing. But it has it just annoys me because there are so many things that like are in that series. It's just like, no, that's not how it, like, none of those existed in those times. Like there were aliens that were for future Ben sort of thing, and there were Kevin 11 built in Omnitrix because he had a dream about it. That was that was their way of justifying it. He didn't have the powers of absorbing something and then using it, which annoyed me a bit as well. And I know it's catered mostly to kids, but it's just like, why are you going to do that?
Yeah, the whole kind of reimagining of the worlds and stuff, and it's just you know what? So I never read Dune. I never had read Dune.
Oh yeah.
And then I saw the movie, and then I became like fixated with the lore for a good month after I saw it, and I just watched every YouTube video, read every freaking article, all the Wikipedia.
Did you watch the original movie?
Yeah. I hadn't even watched that.
No.
And so then just people who create just fantastical worlds, like I'm just like, man, you must just have no limits in your brain, like there's no limitations.
Yeah.
But yet they choose such strong places to go. It's never like a dumb one. Because I'm sure that, there's a lot of examples of really dumb lore or journeys.
But like the good ones, they've all like done like, so they were all like history majors and things like that as well. And so they like study like how real things happen and then be able to develop that.
That's what I love about Dune, is it's like this literally is like a bit of a retelling of our humankind, but it's just set in a different universe. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And like this, you talked about Star Wars before. I wanted to like sort of talk about the sequels, and it's just like the first one, don't get me wrong, the first movie of that trilogy was good. I thoroughly enjoyed. I liked it.
But it was pretty much A New Hope, though. So
it was pretty much New Hope.
It was the same thing.
Oh yeah, no, it's like it's got like elements of. I'm
gonna have to head off soon because I got to go pick up my boy. But my last comment on the Star Wars stuff is, I think what Disney is doing with the like the Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan and stuff like that is going to fix the damage.
I agree.
That those last three movies have made.
I certainly hope so, because I've been hoping to. I need to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi at some stage, because
it's pretty
good.
Fucking cool.
It's so good, man.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Well, thank you for coming on anyway, Kyle.
A pleasure.
Yeah,
thanks for having me, Ryan.
All good. You have a good rest of your day.
Will do.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, you can stay. I'm not. Yeah.
What's the time? I do have to go at 5, but
just about that now.
We can.
Do you want to just cut?
Yeah, we can keep talking. I'm keen. It's still recording, so you know. Okay. Yeah. So.
Okay. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay,
have a good rest of your day. Good night. Yeah. And we'll just awkwardly watch Kyle leave the room.
What's the time?
The time right now, it is 4:55.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Time to wrap up.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah. No. I didn't like how they did Rise of Skywalker. I think that was the one that. I mean, The Last Jedi. It's like I like it less, but Rise of Skywalker just raised way too many questions and not enough answers, and it also had some things that was just like. This is going to go into spoiler territory, so be warned. Why did Rey and Kylo Ren kiss? Why? It was like romantic tension or whatever, but like that wasn't built up at all.
I think it kind of was, because I think there was a power struggle between them, but I think there was also an understanding that they are one of the same. They're built from the same cloth. They have this power struggle with the dark side and, you know, the light side. Well, he has chosen his path, but she has chosen her path, but I still think there was parts of her, they had an understanding. Yeah. And I think if not a romantic relationship, they were meant to be soulmates of some kind.
Yeah, it would have been, I don't know, I feel like it would have been fine if they were really good friends sort of thing, because there's more tension in story-wise. Yeah. There's more tension in a romantic tension of a relationship that isn't meant to be, but is meant to be at the same time. Do you get what I mean? Like a Romeo and Juliet sort of thing? Yeah, like they shouldn't be together, but for some reason
they've been brought into each other's lives for a reason. Yeah.
And the other thing that I didn't quite like was the bringing back the Emperor. That was a bit unnecessary, I think.
I was a bit confused by that as well, to be quite honest.
I mean,
and it's like questioning, like, is there another character that we can look into to facilitate that kind of a role?
Yeah.
But I agree.
Yeah, I thought that like Snoke would be like the main villain for that trilogy because it was like
same.
And then they killed him off in the second one, and I was just like, what are they? Is Kylo Ren the big bad now? Is that what they're?
I think that's what they're wanting the road they're wanting to go down.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting now to see where that relationship between Kylo Ren, where that goes.
Yeah.
Now that they've kind of shared that intimate moment.
Yeah. And it branches off from the original extended universe that they had the books and that sort of thing for, because like in The Mandalorian and that sort of thing, Boba Fett does end up escaping the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
But he falls into it 2 more times, but he does escape it, and he goes on to train. He goes on to train another Jedi who ends up facing like the Dark Lord, who is like their sibling sort of thing, and like it's a bit different to that, but it also has some similarities in it. I just don't like the way that they handled like why was Snoke killed and like why the Emperor's here. It's like I killed Snoke. It was like, yeah, well, Snoke was a clone of me sort of thing. It's just like, why?
I know sometimes it's like the storylines can get, because there's such when you're talking with like little words, the whole universe, so it's like there are so many options, but I think sometimes they just get too complicated, or they get almost like as if you're like have a personal joke or something with somebody, but they actually write it into a movie for us to all watch, and then we're like, huh?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think that was. I think part of that is what most people saw in the 4th Thor movie.
And I loved it for a lot of reasons. So I was really proud of like what Taika brought into it. Yeah. Of the like having a multicultural on the screen and stuff, and
Tuma Toinga was mentioned when Thor was listening off all
and
the
just
gods.
having a woman with Moko Kowai like pop up all the time and stuff like that. I was just like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And also the queerness of it as well. And just the introducing of the YouTube goat really made me happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right in saying that, because there was a lot of different opinions with that movie.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, both the first time and the second time I went to watch it. I watched it twice, one with family and one with Justice, and Justice is really cool, by the way. They do design here at Wintec. I went to go and watch it with them the second time, and it was really cool. I enjoyed it even. I enjoyed it even more because it was just like a feel good movie, and like a lot of people like to compare it to like previous movies and like let that influence this one, and I just don't do that. I
agree.
I watch it for the movie that it is, and if I enjoy it, I enjoy it. If I don't like it, I don't like it.
It's not like traditional to a Marvel kind of storyline or even the way that it's portrayed, and that is because of Taika of who he is, but also because I watched like some interviews with him and Chris Hemsworth, and talking about how they wanted to be able to not just be like it's a quest, a journey to fight evil, but there's comedy, there is action, there is like vulnerable bits, and they can all coexist, because quite often you don't have that experience. Everything is just like super blown up, and it's really intense the whole time, and you don't have that kind of moment where you can really like connect on a very human level with a character, and that's what I liked about it. Some people don't like that because they just want to have the action and the thrills and everything, but I actually liked connecting a bit more.
Yeah, and there are people out there that say Taika Waititi only writes comedy movies or like things that are in comedy.
Nah.
Watch Boy.
Yeah, Watch Boy.
It has comedic moments, but it's a perfect example of like a really serious sort of fucked up sort of kind of story. It deals with family trauma and like that sort of thing. And so
I think it's the way that he storytells is. Well, it's very Kiwi. You know, the humour is a very Kiwi kind of humour, but it's also very Māori because, like, for a long time, Māori have had to, both in pop culture but on a personal level within a community, have had to make jokes about themselves, about their trauma, about their living, you know, the way that they...
New Zealand as a whole has had to sort of do that.
They've had to fight racism with laughter, essentially, and, like... So the way that Taika tackles tough subjects is through comedy, but when you really strip it down, it's got a lot of heart to it.
Yeah.
And I think we relate to that because that's the culture that we're from. But I get it with like other people overseas; they might not get the Kiwi humour. So
they might not get it just as much as we might not get Hamilton or something like that. Because
I love Hamilton.
I have yet to see it, but it's like that same thing. It's just like it's a cross continental sort of difference in like how people deal with things over there, or like the issues that they talk about versus the stuff we deal with over here. And so it's a bit of like it's that juxtaposition between it's like yes, like there's some stuff that like might be like annoying to people because it's sort of New Zealand sort of humor sort of thing, but we've also had to deal with their sort of humor and that sort of thing from most of their movies.
Yeah, like there is so many less like New Zealand movies in mainstream theatre than there is like. I mean, I would say myself, I'm more interested in like British comedy. And always have been. Yeah, like the Blackadders and like Monty Python and like. British humour I've always got it because it's more theatrical. There's a lot more black comedy. Than I personally. I know that people are gonna be like, what? But like, I never really got The Simpsons. I loved Family Guy, but I never got The Simpsons or American Dad or like I love South Park.
Oh, South Park is like
Family
the kings.
Guy and South Park are just really. South Park is so political. It's so intelligent.
Yeah.
And then I love like Rick and Morty and stuff, but just like there's certain types of American comedy, even like, you know, like American Pie and shit like that. I just didn't get it. It wasn't funny to me. It was just more kind of like using profanity all the time and just like, it was just kind of, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think the best example of this I can think of is the series of Taskmaster. And there's a British version and an American version that didn't last.
There's an American version?
There was an American version. It only did 2 seasons because of how poorly received it was. But that's funny because
then when you think about Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
And like SNL.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah. No, but it was because of like people, it was like they were going off the British version of Taskmaster and then going on to the American version, and the American version was sort of alienating because like with the UK version Alex Horne would get like made fun of, but it wasn't out of any like sort of going at him sort of thing. It was like it was in a style that was like it was him poking fun at himself as well whilst doing it. Whereas I saw a video talking about the American version, and one person just decided to go after Alex Horne because and like trying to make comedy from that, and it was just didn't work.
It reminds me of going back to like being a musical nerd. I saw Wicked in London in 2018, and it was only like it would have been a month after I'd done it in Christchurch. And I was really excited, and I actually went with my friend Ali, who played sorry, I'm like burping.
Yep.
Who played Glinda.
Yeah.
And it was done in British accents and it didn't land. Nothing in the script landed because it has to be Americanized for the script to land. So that was interesting. Seeing how an accent can change a script entirely.
It changes the believability of what you're seeing, because like if you're making a show that's based in Britain and it's just like all American accents, who would believe that? It's like it's
not that it's not believable, because I think it's a universal story, but it's the fact of the way that it is written. It's written by American writers. And so there's a certain, there's a rhythm and there is a comedic timing that is different, and the way that the characters were placed is different than if you take it into a British dialogue. Like Glinda being like, popular, I'm gonna be popular, is like different than your kind of like quintessential Cali, girl from LA. And same like seeing Fierro being like this kind of poncy upper class guy instead of being your like footballer. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It just didn't. It doesn't quite
sit right, no.
land.
Yeah, no. I think we've got to wrap up because it's 5:08 currently.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, but like we get into these. This is like the sort of stuff that like we.
I could talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah.
Like you should get me. We should have a history. I'm a history and classics nerd. Yeah. Like I watch.
If I get you and Adrian on the same episode, that will work so well.
Like, just get me on board, because I just love nerding out.
Yeah.
I really do. But next time, can we have like boba tea? I'll bring it.
Yeah,
I'll buy it.
That's fair enough. I won't drink it.
Also, we need to talk about anime. We didn't even get to talk about anime.
No, oh my god. There's so much. There's so much to nerd culture.
But it's so funny that this is just everything I like.
Yeah.
And I'm not like
typical nerd.
Because I was bad at maths.
Yeah.
I opted to not take science from year 11 because we could take PE, which I'm actually kind of annoyed that I did that, because I think science is cool.
Yeah.
But I was just like, because anything with numbers, my brain like literally has a panic attack.
Yeah.
So I'm good with the words. I'm good with English and all that kind of stuff. But so I've never been like, oh, I'm a nerd, because I'm not like super, what's the word? Super
like
academic.
Yeah.
Like I've always been artsy and creative.
Yeah.
But I am a nerd.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. And we will end on that epiphany. Thank you so much, Jane, for coming on to this episode of the Comic Panel Nerdcast. And I hope you guys have had a great time listening to this. So thank you all guys for listening. And bye-bye.
Ka kite.